I'm now live. Apparently, can't can't see the screen, but apparently I am. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name's Councillor Michael Jones. I'm leader of Crawley Borough Council. Welcome to my second uh, uh, Q&A session as leader of the council. You're very welcome. I've had a few questions which have been submitted to me in advance, but I would just like to say, if you have got any questions or comments you'd like to send my way, you put them in the chat and send them through. Hello, Carrie Ann, nice to see you. So I'll just start with quick plug. Clearly everyone will be very aware that the cost of living is rising and it's having a huge impact on household finances, but help is available. Crawley Borough Council's updated and improved our Money Worries section of the website, so all of the available support's in one place to make it more easy to find. So if you visit crawley.gov.uk/money worries, all one word, to find out more, you should be able to access that. I've had 6 questions which have been submitted to the council in advance, and I'm very happy to answer those. Keep your questions coming in, and as they come in I will try and answer them. If you do have a situation where you think I've missed it for whatever reason, bear with me. The chat pane goes up quite quick at times, but I'll do my best, and give me a nudge if you don't think I've answered it. Give me a few minutes though, there is a list. First question I've had, sorry, and I won't be able to name who it is because I don't know that, but the plan to build a new Centre Parks development in precious ancient woodland is another attack on our few remaining areas. Is CBC opposing this? Well, thank you for your question. The answer is yes, we are. There was a unanimous vote at the full council meeting last week, and personally, I genuinely can't see how, with the planning laws being what they are, how a successful application to cut down half of Worth Forest could ever be successful. But that's going to be a decision for Mid Sussex District Council. I need to stress CBC will not be making any planning decisions on this. It's not in our area, although one could very well argue that we will be the most affected here in Crawley. Now, I do recognise that there are people out there who point out economic benefits from employment, but I have to ask, employment for who? We already have one of the highest rates of employment in the South East, probably the country, and there would be impacts on the local labour market for existing demands. Essentially, I'm saying you're creating jobs for people who don't live here yet, and although that in itself is something, the area concerned is called Old House Warren. It's not Centre Parks, and it is historic. It's ancient woodland. If it goes on an ecological basis, we lose something that's almost impossible to recreate. With the greatest respect to Centre Parks, who I'm sure provide very nice holidays when they aren't asking people to leave or stay in their rooms when the monarch passes away. But I do feel that the disadvantages greatly outweigh that offer. So there we are. That was my first question. I've just talking about the cost of living, which we were earlier on. I just wanted to give a quick mention. Last week, Councillor Sue Mullins, who's my cabinet member for community engagement, went down to visit the Free Shop, which is at the Bewbush Centre in Bewbush. It's always a pleasure to go down there because it's a wonderful community centre that the council provides, and it's doing some fantastic work, and the Free Shop are doing some amazing work. They've now put on a fortnightly coffee morning, which was extremely well attended when I went, but the Free Shop is open, I think it's 5 days a week, to actually help people with support. There is a shop that people can go to. It's very important. I think that it's recognised the great work they do. Laura Jane and all the volunteers down there are doing some good stuff. I think they're worth checking out. I dare say it's very possible we can provide a link to their website, which has some good details of what they do. So I'll move on to the second question I had, trying to break it up a bit. is in light of the recent Homes England consultations held to promote their plans to build up to 10,000 new homes west of Ifield, will CBC redouble its efforts to prevent and stop this potentially massive blot on one of Crawley's few remaining rural areas? I can promise the questioner we're already working very hard on this, and I do undertake that we'll keep that up. There are still too many unanswered questions from this proposed development, aside from the undeniable environmental impact. They don't appear, for example, to have plans in place for a relief road around this development, and to take pressure off the existing borough roads despite the large increases in traffic. At least not one that runs the full extent of the route that will be needed. Also, I'm not hugely impressed with the proposals for what will be there when it's built. The further and further out the development is, the further they are from retail and community facilities. And to my mind, they haven't got nearly enough there if that's going to happen. You only have to go down to Kilnwood Vale, really, to see a real life example of where that ends. It's no disrespect to people at Kilnwood Vale, but I really don't know how you can you can cope with without the facilities that you need that far from either Crawley or Horsham. You know, I'm getting increasingly weary, I think is the best way to put this, with the development being considered by the surrounding Conservative-run councils, it has to be said, right up next to Crawley's borders. It does feel like it's putting it up next to us, so they don't have to worry about providing the facilities themselves. Although I'm sure they wouldn't agree with this. But the fundamental objection I have with the west of Ifield is, and it always has been, on environmental grounds. So rest assured, we will be making very firm submissions. But again, this is becoming familiar, isn't it? This is not within the Crawley Borough Council boundary. Horsham District Council will be making all the planning decisions on this because it's in their area, you know, right slap bang next to ours. But even so, just having a quick look now. I see there's a couple of questions come in now. Kevin has written, asking what is the latest regarding the proposed allotments in Furness Green. Hello Kevin, thank you for your question. As a council, you know, I'm very committed, and we all are, to listening very carefully to what residents think. We care about that. And we know that the proposals for allotments in Furness Green have met with some concern. We did try very hard to consult everyone. You'd be amazed how much information you can try and put out there, and people at the end of the process say they didn't know anything about it. But we have paused the process. I think Councillor Chris Mullins, who's our cabinet member who leads on dealing with allotments, has been very fair. We're listening to the residents. We're giving them a chance to make further submissions. We'll be putting something out to the immediate roads, setting out the details, and that is where we are at the moment. There'll be nothing that goes ahead until we've been through that, and we are listening very carefully. We clearly would look to the local ward councillors for Furness Green to tell us what the community would like, and we thought we'd had a pretty strong steer, but we are looking into it, and rest assured, we recognise that there is a lot of good to be said about having allotments in the town. We do have a waiting list, and we certainly continue to be committed to providing allotments. If we can't build them here for whatever reason, we'll just have to look and see what we can do, because we know that there's people who really want them. I'll move on to another written question I've had. I think hopefully maybe this might start to or stop some of the questions in this respect, because someone's asked, when is the council going to sort out the blocked drains along Hazelwick Avenue to avoid the flooding? Well, you've mentioned a road. That's a highways matter. I should just say now, as much as I might sympathise, we aren't the council who deals with that, or potholes. We live in a two-tier area, and the council who looks after the roads is West Sussex County Council. So I had another written question, which was any chance that an unmarked crossing Longworth Road, Pound Hill, can be turned into either a zebra or pelican crossing? It's so unsafe to cross. Well, sorry to hear that. Afraid that's a highways matter as well. You'll need to contact your local county councillor about that. And the questioner, I wish you every success with that. We've put up. I think we're going to try and put up a link in the chat for our county councillor's contact details. I'll see what my CBC elves can do. We've had a question from Georgina. When are you going to stop bikes and bear with me, and electric scooters on paths in town? Right. Well, the answer to that is CBC don't actually have the powers to stop bikes and electric scooters on pavements. Some people might remember I did actually write much earlier in the year to our local head teachers. I also spoke to the police about electric scooters. To my mind, they're only licensed in certain areas at the moment, and Crawley was not one of those areas in the pilot areas for these scooters. People should not be driving them or using them, riding them on public land. They shouldn't be on the highways. They shouldn't be on the pavements. And I do sympathise with the police. It is sometimes quite difficult to stop one of these things when they're going as fast as they are. But the police are responsible. I do know if the community wardens see them and get a chance to talk to them, they do remind people using the scooters that they should not be using them on public lands. And also, the bikes issue is a perennial issue. I do feel very sympathetic, and I also think that sort of bike users, I appreciate that there's pressures on the roads, but saying that, it doesn't take much to be on the pavement and you can knock a pensioner flying, and that's a life-changing injury for them. So I will, next time I speak to the local Chief Inspector Diaz, our district commander for Crawley, I will actually ask him to be ever mindful of this, and that's where we are with that. Okay, I'm just scrolling down, so bear with me, everyone. Let's. I've just had another question. I'm just going to flag this one up. Someone said, "Please, can something be done about all the trees that are too close to our maisonettes? We have very little sunlight. Plus, with all these high winds, they are looking so unsafe." Thanks to whoever wrote in, but you haven't told us where. There might be a lot of this tonight, so if you have a specific example and you don't want to dox yourself with your address, etc., please email me directly at michael.jones@crawley.gov.uk and I'll look into it. Obviously very happy to respond here live, but if you have something personal, I do encourage you to raise it with me offline. By email, that's probably the best way. It'll get just as good a response, I promise, and I'll make sure it goes to the people who can help. I think I've got one last question, but I'll leave that. I will leave that specifically till I've dealt with a few more in the chat. Just scrolling down now, just gone up so I haven't missed any. Had Georgina's question. Chris is asking, hi, when are they going to put new doors on the sheds in Shipley Roads? I know you're in Ifield there, but I'm going to have to ask if you could perhaps email me separately, Chris, and let me know specifically where we're talking about. I'm very happy to look into any issues, but I think I probably need a few more details than that. Thanks anyway. Vela's written in, are you going ahead with the Breezehurst Drive development? I think the answer is yes, we are. It had been delayed because essentially we've had issues with something called water neutrality, which is essentially there's not sufficient water in the system because of the infrastructure to actually go ahead with some development at the moment, and the Breezehurst development had been affected by that. The Breezehurst development, this was always phase two. This was always going to happen when we demolished the old leisure centre at Bewbush Leisure Centre, and this is what's coming forward. There's going to be a lot of social housing coming forward, a lot of council housing that we'll be able to deliver through that. There's also mixed tenure as well. So there will be some advantages to that, but that's coming. I do want to just make clear, I want to reassure to everyone in Bewbush that, because these conversations seem to arise every little while, despite the amount of times I say it. There is a playing field next to Skelmersdale Walk, and also the Bewbush West playing fields. They are protected by the local plan. No one will be building on those. The land at Breezehurst next to the pavilion, not the pavilion, the new roads at Dowster and Waterfall Crescent. That was always on the cards to be built on at some point, and that is coming forward. So I hope that answers your question. We'll keep going. Let's go to the next one. Right. Peter's thanking me for continuing with these Facebook Live events, Michael. Peter, I'm very happy to. I'm happy to continue with them as long as people people find them useful. Jo's written into me and she says, you said there's a waiting list for allotments, but why are half the allotments empty in Crawley? Jo, I have been aware there's been an issue in the past. There is a waiting list, and sometimes work is required on them. It's like turning the soil before letting to the next tenant. Sometimes it looks like there's issues that there are. It doesn't look like there are any issues, and I think sometimes I'd be happy to admit that I think that possibly the turnaround hasn't been as quick as it could have been, but we have been speaking to officers and we are trying to work on that. If there are any specific examples you've got for me, Jo, please email me. I will look into them. I always, myself and Chris Mullins, always interrogate any examples we're given just to make sure that there's a good reason why they haven't been given to someone new. I am acutely aware that there are people who want allotments, and that's one of the reasons why we're trying to build some more, if not in Furnace Green, then somewhere else. Okay, right. I think that's all the questions on chat I've got so far. So I'll finish off the last written question I've got, which is a challenging one. It's a resident saying, why don't we have a proper A&E in Crawley? Been going to East Surrey Hospital, which cannot cope. Cancer patients being left in A&E without beds in corridors. I just want to thank. I don't get your names when they're written questions, but can I thank you for your question? I don't want people to get confused here. I support us having an A&E here in Crawley, and I'm sorry to hear observations like that about cancer patients. But this is something you need to raise with the MP. The NHS has always been a national government responsibility, and they are not accountable to the council as much as I would like them to be on many occasions. I'm aware there have been issues at East Surrey, and at one point last year I think they had to stop temporarily admitting patients, although that's long since been resolved. There's a lot needing doing with our health service, and it needs money spending on it, but given what's just happened with the economy, I would like to be more hopeful than I am that the government will be doing practical things about this. They haven't managed in the last 12 years anyway, as far as I'm concerned. I wouldn't be being fair, though, if I didn't mention that Crawley Hospital has a very good urgent treatment centre for most ailments and injuries. Just obviously, if you have something that might require intensive care, you will still need to go to East Surrey. And obviously, in an emergency, always call 999 and the ambulance crew will decide where the best place to take you. I don't want anyone, by the way, to think I'm trying to defend existing arrangements. However, I never try to defend things that I'm not responsible for. That's Henry Smith's job in this case. So that's my answer to point anyway. Vaughan has written in, good evening. I need to know when the tree stump will be removed from my fence. It came down in Storm Eunice. Although 3 teams have been round, the stump is still there. And now even my emails don't get a reply. Worth Park Lake. Vaughan, thanks for your question. Can I just say, we will raise this directly with the team and ensure a response is provided. If you can email me, that would be the best way to do it, I think. michael.jones@crawley.gov.uk. That's the best way to pass this on. But if you can get in touch, Vaughan, I will look into that and coax a response from our team. I'm sure I'm sure that no one is knowingly delaying this any longer than necessary. But I will bring my attention to that, and hopefully we can get some resolution. So just a few other things. Quick plug while we're waiting for questions. Keep them coming in if you've got them. If you don't, we can finish early. I don't mind. It's an exercise for you. It's an opportunity for you. I will happily answer any correspondence I get if you'd rather email me directly than put it in the chat. Just wanted to mention, I really do want to give a lot of praise to our benefits and finance team, who were the people who actually helped give out the £150 energy bill rebate. It was a massive job. We paid 38,717 households this £150 rebate right across Crawley. That was a total of just under £6 million. For those that qualified for the discretionary scheme, we've already paid nearly 7,000 households so far, and that was totalling just under £200,000. Payments and credits have ranged from £25 top-ups for those who'd already received £150 from either the main or the discretionary scheme, and up to £175 for those who did not qualify for the main energy rebate scheme. Now, this scheme is still open. It will close for final applications on the 27th of November. So if you think you might benefit from that, please do visit crawley.gov.uk/energy rebate, all one word, to apply. We do, this money is there for people who are in genuine need. We'd rather help support your bills rather than you building up arrears and on rents and groceries, because that just causes even more problems down the line, as I know we all know about. Just having another look. Vaughan was the last questioner, I think. Nobody is saying I haven't answered their questions. I'm having another flick through. It's not. Come on, don't be shy. I might regret saying that, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I've got a few more. Leslie's written in, and she's rightly reminded me there was a Goffs Park consultation. Is there any update on this, or what are the plans? Funnily enough, I was asking our head of service that question last night. The consultation is finished, Leslie, and the officers are compiling the responses, and they're putting that together, as well as the raw data and the raw, and the responses, so that myself and Chris Mullins, the cabinet member in charge of parks, can have a look and consider the suggestions. I think I'm right in saying there was an amazingly good response to this public consultation in terms of what the council gets in replies. It was well in excess of what we'd normally expect as an average response, and that doesn't surprise me in the slightest, because I know how much loved and valued Goffs Park is. It's somewhere I particularly like to go to, and I'm absolutely committed to doing things we can. There has been some enthusiasm for certain schemes, and I will reveal all a bit later on. In terms of what has already come through, we've had some preliminary indications. But saying that, um, can I thank everyone who took part? You know, it may not be immediately obvious, but we do take what you say very seriously, and uh, I- you know, I think that Goss Park is an amazing asset to this town, and we want to get the most out of it, and we want to encourage people to go and visit, because there is an amazing amount there, in my view, and I've used the word amazing far too often now, so I'll stop. Um, Right. Thanks for that question, Leslie. And all I'd say is watch this space. I'm confident that we'll be moving this forward. You know, in the not too distant future, without pinning us down on strict dates. Um, yes. Can I make another plug now as well? We've recently, you might have noticed on our social media, we've been putting out requests. Would you like to sign up for e-billing? You can now receive your bills via email for things such as council tax. It's faster and saves on printing and postage costs to the council, which hopefully means we don't have to put your council tax up by quite so much. But it also reduces the use of paper and envelopes, which of course is good for the environment. Now, e-billing, it's on my.crawley.gov.uk, which is our dedicated website for all things you can do interacting with the council on a virtual format, and stopping you or giving you an option to not have to trudge down to the town hall and to pin one of us down to deal with things. You can register for e-billing for services that I mentioned, council tax, but business rates if you have that arrangement, allotments, again very topical, green bins, leasehold services, premises licences, taxi licences, and Lifeline. So to help save money and paper, we have this week sent out more than 19,000 emails to council tax customers that we hold an email address for, to encourage them to receive their council tax bills electronically. We now have 4,000 households receiving their council tax bills by email, and we hope this will increase as the days go on, and it should help reduce the amount of money we're spending on that as well. To my mind, getting electronically is just as good as getting a piece of paper. I've been receiving lots of stuff electronically, and I seem to cope just as well. So can I encourage everyone to, not everyone, but if you think you could live with it, please do. I'm not selling it that well, am I? But no, seriously, I think it's definitely a good way to do it, and it's also quite a good way, if you store these things, to actually retrieve your records. Whereas trying to track down pieces of paper months afterwards can sometimes be quite awkward. Right. So that covers that. Let's see if we've got any more questions that have come in. Right. Let's have a look. There's been a few questions come in as I've been talking about. Right. Kevin's written in, now that car parking charges apply to the Morrison site, are there any plans for the retail premises? That's a good question, Kevin. None that I'm aware of is the short. I'd ideally love that place to be used as a supermarket, because that's what it was built for. But in the absence of that, it would be nice if there was something else in there. Can I just say about Morrison's car park, we don't own or run their car park. Unfortunately, we're not aware of their plans. Also, I think it probably has something to do with the Travelodge hotel parking as well that's down there. We are currently looking at our arrangements for car parks in Crawley that the Borough Council own. We've got the surface car parks on the boulevard, we've got the multi-storey next to the town hall, we've got Kingsgate, and we've got, of course, the state-of-the-art facilities at West Green, Orchard Street, which I do encourage people to use as well. That's very good. What I would say is we will look, taking into account that Morrison's are now charging, because clearly we want to encourage people to come into the town centre and do their shopping. It's good for business, it's good for Crawley. So, but as I said, it's one of those things where actually what they're doing with the Morrison's car park is totally out of our control. Um, thank you. Right. Let's move on to the next question, which is is from Sharon. Hello, Sharon. How do we complain about well overgrown neighbours' gardens? I'm talking about a forest, and I do sympathise. Clearly, I do encourage everyone to try and keep your gardens in good condition. But if there is a particularly extreme example, can you report it to the council's nuisance and antisocial behaviour team? We've got a very good team that will look into these issues and hopefully help you sort them out, Sharon. The number to call to speak to one of our officers there is 01293 438 438. And actually, while we're doing numbers now, I think it might be a good time to encourage everyone. There's useful telephone numbers to Crawley Borough Council that you can always call. You've got our general helpline to the main switchboard, which is 01293 438 000. And you should be able to find someone there. If you're a tenant and there's an issue with repairs, you can always contact, you're a council house tenant, I should say. You've got the repairs team. And if you need anything done or you need to chase them up, then their direct number is 01293 438 111. You've got the community wardens. If there's an antisocial or crime issue, you can if it's something they can deal with, and you can always call the police, but you can also call the community wardens on 07884 492 324. And of course, if there is a non-emergency and you need the police, you've always got Sussex Police on 101. So I'll just have a look and see if there's any more questions now. I think there is. Let's move on. It's worrying me the way one of the elves is nodding his head, actually. That's Oh, Noreen has written in. Hello, Noreen. What are the plans for the adventure playground site in Bewbush? It is temporarily closed, Noreen, but I'm absolutely delighted that we're working with a local community group called Inspire Castle, which the hope is in the new year that we will be able to do something which will reopen the playground. We're still working through the plans with them, and I probably need a bit of an update on where we are with that myself. However, there's some fantastic people involved. In fact, I bumped into one of the partners at the Manor Royal Jobs Fair where I was opening it earlier last week, who was telling me some of how it was going. So I think the good news is that there will be a wonderful facility in the near future in Bewbush again. Bear with us, it was never an ideal situation. The decision on the adventure playground wasn't taken lightly, and we know it's somewhere that's really beautiful. It's right next to the Mill Pond, as hopefully a lot of residents will know, which in itself is a beautiful natural asset of Crawley. And if you haven't been down there recently, I do encourage you to go down. It's always beautiful down there. And if you're an ornithologist or a bird lover, you will have you will have died and gone to heaven. Basically, there's wonderful stuff down there for viewing there. So right, we're halfway through. My goodness, doesn't time fly when I'm listening to the sound of my own voice? Right, pleasure, Sharon. Good luck with that. Okay. Now it is. We're moving on. I'm just going to make another plug again because there's a lot going on in Crawley. I'm glad to say, and Crawley Borough Council is doing an enormous amount. We have the beginning of the new community grants round of funding coming up. Voluntary and community organisations in Crawley can now apply for the new strategic grants from the council, which are the annual grants process every year for larger sums of money that we have. This funding programme aims to support local and voluntary community groups with grants of £5,000 or more if they meet the council's priorities for funding and they apply successfully. Would that we had a limitless supply for this. There's some amazing groups and they do some wonderful work in Crawley, but we face increasing pressures, but we do our best to be fair to everyone. And if you've got something if we've got something that is really good going on in Crawley, but money is an issue about making that happen, or you need that help and support, then our cabinet member Sue Mullins for community engagement, who looks after our grants, is always very keen to hear from you, and we'll, please do apply if you're a group and our officers can tell you all that will be required. There's an online application process. So if you visit crawley.gov.uk/grants for more information on how to apply for funding, the online form will check your eligibility for a grant and guide you through the application process. And we usually reach a decision and announcement in March of every year. Now, if you're someone who's thinking, we'd like to do something before that, well, don't despair. We do have the small grants process, which is one that's open all year round, and that's grants up to £2,500. Clearly not, clearly not as much as you can get in the annual process, but still, it's if you've got a nice activity that you'd like to do, it's certainly something. And my colleague Sue Mullins will be reviewing those regularly throughout the year, and we have some excellent work that goes on, so I would encourage that. So I'm just going to start moving on to the next question, just scrolling up to check I haven't missed any. I don't think I have. I've got a question from Molly. Are we ever going to sort the parking crisis out in Broadfield? That's a good question. We have about 30 spots for 70 houses, and some houses have 3 cars. I do sympathise, Molly. A lot of the roads, not so much in Broadfield, but certainly the old sort of Newtown roads built by the corporation when the Newtown first went up, they simply weren't designed for the level of car ownership that we have. Older residents probably remember everyone cycling to APV on Manor Royal. So that was how people got about, but obviously that's massively changed. I know people won't want the history lesson. I'm afraid, again, this is a highways issue, Molly. This is West Sussex County Council. If you do want to email, Brian Quinn will be your councillor if you live in Broadfield. And I know Brian, if there is anything that can be done about it, Brian will. He's very conscientious, he works hard, and I'm sure there's no resident here who lives in Broadfield that needs me to tell them that. But it is a county matter, and it's them that need to sort it out. Sorry about that. Maybe we should encourage the leader of West Sussex County Council to have one of these sessions, and people could get the chance to do it that way. But I might suggest it to him next time I see him. Get him on side. Right. Let's have a look at the next question, which let's have a look. Right. Kevin's asked about how many illegal immigrants are being put up in hotels in Crawley, and what's the financial cost. I think there's a bit of a misconception there, Kevin, that the people people in Crawley are what you've just called them. They're not Crawley Borough's responsibility, so I can't give you any figures if there is anyone staying, they're not our responsibility. They've been placed there directly by the Home Office, where there are people. Some of them are Afghan people who had to be settled somewhere given what happened, and I know that there is work being done by the Home Office to settle those people across the country. I think that's all I can say on that at the moment. So I'm just going to have a very quick sip of water. Do bear with me. And I'll just check and see if we've got any. But any financial cost on Kevin is national government spend. It's not something that the council is responsible for. I think I've reached the end of questions in the chat pane. Don't suffer in silence if I have missed you. Just want to give a quick mention. We have a consultation at the moment as well. We're modernising the play area at Southgate Playing Fields, Southgate Park, up near where the Emerald Club is, on that side of Southgate Avenue. And we want to know what you think about the proposed design. Hopefully there'll be a link coming up soon. You can have a look and see for yourself what we're doing. It's on our usual consultation page, crawley.gov.uk/consultation. Or you can come and see the team at the play area on Tuesday the 1st of November from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. if you'd like to see someone face to face. The consultation for this is ending on Friday the 4th of November, so still just over a week to go, but again, it's part of our overall commitment, our rolling programme to ensure that we've got the best possible equipment in our play areas. And obviously Southgate Park is a popular area, and we very much value the good that this play equipment does. So I'm looking forward very much to getting responses from that, and hoping that people like what's been put forward. I certainly think it's very good indeed. So right, I've got no more questions. Oh right, Mark Allen, what do you do to help people like me on the breadline? Mark, we are always trying as a council to help all our residents. What I would say is that there's a certain limit to what this council can deliver, because we only have resources to a certain extent. There's some things that can only be done, like with social security and national government spend. However, we do our bit. We as I mentioned earlier, we were heavily involved in distributing the money from the rebates on the energy bills. We've also just released an additional £25 to anyone who qualifies for council tax relief, disabled people and carers. So it's not a king's ransom, but we're working on these things. Help and support's on hand as well for money worries. We've got advice and signposting on our website, which I see a link's just gone up there. Well done, elves. Which should certainly give you some good advice. I've been and had a look at it, and there is actually some good ideas there. There's some useful pointers, and there's some useful advice in terms of what you need to do. So I'm not saying this it's a magic wand. I'm very conscious that Martin Lewis, for those of you who know him, who's a big money saving expert, said not that long ago that there's literally no further, useful little hints or tips, that can resolve the extent of the situation. But I would encourage everyone to have a look there. We are also, and I won't be able to provide extensive detail tonight, but we're looking at warm spaces and making sure that if there is a real if there's a real energy crisis over the winter, that people have got some options right across the borough. And I'm very keen on that, and I'm working that out with our officers on that, who I have to say are doing a great job. We're not quite at the point we can announce all the details, but I'm personally committed, and I know everyone at Crawley Borough Council is committed to doing what we can to do the decent thing, to actually try and help people, because your distress is our distress, and clearly if people hit problems, that can cause issues right across the board. We're very concerned as well that people are running into rent arrears, there's evictions, and we're doing all we can to make sure that people get at least temporary accommodation if they present themselves to us at risk of or an imminent risk of being homeless. So hopefully that answers some of your questions, Mark. It's not going to be the 100% of what we do, and I would urge anyone who would appreciate a bit of support that that website, I think, should be the first port of call, because it's really built up, and I'm incredibly impressed with that, and I think our officers have been doing some great work on this whole area, and I can assure people, I have been expecting very high standards and extensive things, which I'm hoping that we will be bringing forwards, and I'm very confident that, that we have a team here at Crawley Borough Council that can deliver that. Very confident indeed. Right, just going to scroll through the questions again, just check I haven't missed anything. Don't think I have. Go on, don't be shy. There's still time left. I can't quite remember how long it is, but we certainly got a few things going on. 15 minutes, I'm told. So you of course can always contact me. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait till the next live Q&A. You can email me on michael.jones at crawley.gov.uk. You can follow me on Twitter if you like. I'm at Michael for Sussex. That is my handle, as I believe they call Twitter accounts. I'm up with all this modern newfangled stuff, aren't I? But right, okay. Well, you will not be surprised to hear there is plenty going on in Crawley. I had the great pleasure earlier last week of going to Spectrum House in Manor Royal and got the bus up to City Place and had a very nice stroll. It's always nice to go up to Manor Royal and see what's going on. But they were having a jobs fair, which was really well attended. I think they had well over 700 people come. There was 29 employers there, all looking to recruit. I think that it was a real pleasure to go around and talk to some of the people looking for work and also some of the employers and get an insight into what they were doing. It was all incredibly positive, and it was just a reminder as well, actually, what a thriving place Crawley is. This is a place where things get done. We do things, we make things, we deliver things, and it's always great pride for me to see. And an absolute shout out to the Manor Royal Business Improvement District, who have been going for quite some time now, and they're looking to renew their term of office, which I'm very happy to support. But they've done some amazing stuff. They've unified the sort of Manor Royal identity, and there's loads of wonderful things that have gone on there. So I think absolute praise and admiration to Steve Sawyer and everyone there who's been involved in such great work. But as I said, there are events, and that's not just past events, there's future events. We've still got Creepy Crawley. There's a final weekend which to mark Halloween in Crawley and in the town centre, and that's definitely worth looking out for. There's all sorts of things. I think another thing to plug is London to Brighton, the Veteran Car Run. It's that time of the year again, 6th of November, between 8:25 and 2 in the afternoon. They will be driving through Crawley, and it will be their stop-off point as usual. So they'll be driving through the boulevards at Crawley, so you can watch the veteran vehicles and listen to a jazz band as the cars pass through Crawley on their way to the finishing line in Brighton. And I'm planning to go down there and wave at a few of them. I need to talk to the officers about that, but should be good fun. I'm not sure I'll be there for the full 5.5 hours, but I'll certainly pop down. Depends what the weather is, I suppose, but that will be good fun. And it'd be wonderful thing is it'll be even more proud to wave them through that part of Crawley, because they'll be able to see our lovely brand new town hall. So anyway, let's move on. Right, Light Up Crawley, that's something that I need to just draw everyone's attention to. That's on the 18th to the 20th of November, again in the town centre. That's going to be a programme of light installations, videos, theatre and entertainment across the town centre, and it will provide the highlight of Crawley New Town's 75th anniversary celebrations. And I have to say, I mean, there's been some really lovely events for the 75th anniversary celebrations, and I always think it's well worth celebrating this town and what it's achieved and what we continue to achieve. Crawley Borough Council's joined up with Crawley Town Centre Business Improvement District, who are the ones who've been doing such great events across the town centre, and Creative Crawley to organise Light Up Crawley. As I've just mentioned, it is there's a whole lot going on across town, the Memorial Gardens as well. This is all free. I hasten to add, and there'll be activities for all ages across the whole weekend, and it's going to culminate in the grand event where the Queen Square Christmas tree and the lights in Queen Square will be switched on Sunday the 20th of November, and I wouldn't miss that either. That should be good. I think we've done some great stuff in the past. I was actually particularly taken last year when we had the word Crawley written and lit up in lights. I thought it was a nice little touch, that, personally, but it's all a matter of taste, I'm sure. But no, I think it's always very important to me that we highlight what a great place Crawley is to come and shop, and it's always lovely to see the illuminations in quite the way they are. Okay, right, Peter. How about inviting to these Q&A so they can answer some of the issues that often. Can ask them, Peter. I will have a look into that. We're always happy to look at the format. To my mind, Paul Marshall and his colleagues have more than enough resources at West Sussex County Council. They could be doing this without needing my help, but we'll look into that. Kevin has written in, there are 2 vacant shops on Furnace Parade. Any news on when they will be let soon? I know, Kevin, that our property team are in discussion with tenants, and what's slightly frustrating for us is that while some might be empty and certainly look empty, they haven't actually surrendered their leases. I think the old Martin shop might be one of those, actually. I do feel sorry for the Martins McColl's chain. I mean, they are going through some kind of insolvency issues at the moment, and some of the shops are open and some aren't. Whilst they're still paying the rent and they haven't surrendered the leases, there's not a lot we can do about that, Kevin. Although, I was down at Furnace Green Parade not that long ago myself, and I did notice. I think there's some wonderful shops at Furnace Parade, but there's certainly no harm in having a bit more company. And I can assure you we're looking at that. So thanks for your question, and I can assure you as well that you're not the only person who's asked me about that. So it's something that we're looking to deal with as long as we can. Although some of that, particularly with Martins, is down to their administrators. Right, there's a link to the events. Do have a look at our events webpage. It's always very good. Bex and her team always do some wonderful things for us, so it's definitely worth a plug. Right. Now, hello. Sorry if that isn't if that's just a pseudonym, but Best is writing in saying, please reconsider the seasonal car park opening hours for Goss Park. Well, Best, one of the reasons why we've had to crack down at Goss Park, and I must stress as well, it's only the car park by the level crossing. If anyone needs to get into Goss Park and park, there is still the main car park by Goss Park House, which certainly isn't going to be locked up at the times you mentioned. I just want to stress with this, one of the reasons we're having to do this is that people were complaining that they couldn't get into Goss Park to park at that car park because essentially commuters would drive in. They would get out and either walk up to the railway station, or usually the railway station, because I suspect the majority of them actually do work in London, or they would walk into town. Now that's not a satisfactory situation either. So there is always going to be a balance, and I think Best we're not going to get everyone happy with that. What I would say is that aside from half an hour at 4:30, if you the only times that place will be closed are times that the controlled parking zones are not operational in because they're between, I think I'm right in saying 9 and 5 o'clock in that area. I'm sure someone will correct me if I haven't got that right. But as I said, there are options. So it's not. I would say to people, this will be enforced. So do not risk it. If you do not be one of these people who thinks, let's try Crawley Borough Council out on this. If it's there at 4:30, I'm afraid. The only problem is if we extended the time any longer, we'd end up with a situation where the commuters could just still fit it around what they're doing, and that's not what that car park is there for. Quite honestly, it's a bit of a liberty that people are taking, parking in there and using it in that way. If you must drive your car to near the station, then pay for your own parking, quite frankly, is my view. Sorry if that doesn't make some people happy. As I said, you want to stress there's the Goss Park House car park will still remain open, and also most park users, there will be the seasonal car park. It will be open later in the summer months because of the different. But to be honest with you, with nobody should be wandering around our parks, as far as I'm concerned, in the dark. That's not what they're there for. It's one of the reasons why we don't light them up. In the evenings. Okay, well, hope that's an answer for you, Best. It won't please everyone. We could have a quick look at the absolute closing time, but to be honest with you, I think it's more likely to be the starting time than the closing time that we'd be looking at if I was looking at that. But I hope that's an answer of sorts. Mark's asking about an empty shop in Tilgate parades. We do get voids from time to, or vacant shops from time to time, Mark. I can assure you our assets team are always looking to get them filled. It does the council, it does residents no good. It does the council no good if they're empty, and we're keen to deal with that. So hopefully that's in hand. I don't have the details. If you want to email me with your contact details, though, Mark, I will certainly refer that to our man in charge of all these things, Richard, and ask him to send a reply and update us. Oh yes, hello Kevin. Yes, we were we were out and about. Yes, I did have to go and canvass the charcoal burner after we'd spoken to some residents, so that was very pleasant. So say hello next time if we're there. It'd be nice to put a name to a face. Right, 5 minutes to go. So if you've got any more questions, we're moving to the end of the session. You've got one last chance, and then if you want to ask me live, it's going to be the next time. I will go through some of the useful telephone numbers. Crawley Borough Council, again, just to repeat, is 01293 438 000. The Crawley Repairs Team, if you're a council house tenant, is 01293 438 111. If you've got any issues with people causing antisocial behaviour, you can contact our Community Wardens team on 07884 492 324. If you see a crime or you're worried about serious behaviour, then please do contact the police. If it's not an emergency, it's 101. But if it is an emergency, always call 999. So thanks very much. Now Gillian is saying I've missed. Oh dear, Gillian, that's me. Tut tut. Okay, I apologise. Oh right, Gillian. Okay. Did ask West Sussex County Council if they would join in on a question and answer session, and he got no response. I'm happy to extend to Paul Marshall. Paul, if you ever fancy a visit up to some beautiful Storrington to Crawley, you're very welcome to come and join me if you'd like to do a head-to-head with our residents, or I do know though that there's some really wonderful officers down at West Sussex County Council, Gillian and anyone who's asking this question actually, who would happily put something together if the idea is put in Paul's head and he's up for it. So no pressure, Paul. But the residents do seem to want to talk about some of these issues, and I find them very valuable, and I think you would too. Right, that's lovely. I think if that's the case, apologies to Gillian once again. I do think that's it. I'm going to go down to the end now, see if we've got anything else. How often do we run these live Q&A sessions? It's always nice to see you too, Darren. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kevin, for the question. I would say they are approximately one at the month at the moment. Really, this is my second one. So, and I did say at the end of the first one that I'd welcome feedback if there is anything you'd like me to be covering, or you'd like a change for me to do. Let me or the Crawley Borough Council elves know that we're very receptive, and we certainly do them once a month. In practice, we do think that they that's about the right amount. And as I said, in the meantime, if anyone really wants to get in touch with me on a burning issue, that I always say, best way to get hold of me, michael.jones@crawley.gov.uk. All my contact details are on the website. You can obviously also contact all the other borough councillors for the neighbourhood you you live in, or the members of the cabinet, depending on what they are. And I think it's very possible there'll be a link somewhere the elves will be able to find for me, which will let you look up your councillor. I think it's there actually, how to contact us. And there we have it. I think we've reached my list of things that I wanted to plug, and we've got through them. Sorry if I've forgotten to mention anything. I do always enjoy being out and about in Crawley. I make it a point of mine to see what's going on and to celebrate what we do. It's so important, particularly after lockdown. We've got. I think. I'm wondering who that's a picture of. Actually, is that Grinda? There's the pictures come up of your councillors. It is. Oh, I say. There we are. Yes, Grinda, you've changed in the last couple of years a little. Is 19th of December. Is there not one in November? I think there is. Yes, we're currently scheduled because we're having it slightly earlier in December because otherwise it would have been far too near Christmas, and most of you I think will be far more interested in that by the time we get there. But then our next month will be November the 24th. And obviously keep your questions coming. I have up until now really enjoyed answering them, so I hope that continues. And in the meantime, as I said, if you want to contact me, email is the best way. But there are also 35 other councillors, and you can find their details there as well if one of them would suit you better. But don't worry, I'm very friendly usually, so please feel free to contact me. And right, I think that we're probably at the end of our allotted time tonight. Hope to see many of you next time. Thank you for all your questions. Take care, be safe everyone, and hopefully see you next time. Bye bye now.